welcome back to another one of my videos. This one we will be introducing Senna, my little Mustang mare here, to the halter, to a saddle pad or a saddle blanket, and also I'll be treating her for lice for the first time. And at the end of this video, I will be introducing you to another one of my Mustangs who I've had for a couple years now, and I will show you where we're at in her progress. So first off, this is Senna. She's my 2-year-old South Steens herd mare. She was gathered 9/11 of 2021, or 2022, sorry. And we've been working on and off as the weather has permitted, and she is doing wonderfully. Right now we're working on some head shyness. As you can see, she doesn't really like me up around her ears, but she's gotten a lot better about that ever since we changed out halters and just started working with her more consistently since the weather's been good. She's been an absolute joy and a nice, easygoing, calm mare. She kind of just puts up with everything. She still likes to avoid. You'll see in her stances, and I'll try to point them out as they come up so you can see what I'm looking at, where she tilts her body away from me, and that's her not really accepting me in her space yet, and she's telling me, I don't think I want you to be here, but I'll accept it. It's, other words, it's called avoidance, which we'll work on as she gets more comfortable with me. Right now we're getting her to lead forward. It's been a little bit since I've actually worked with leading on her or gotten to really work with her at all. Azir has taken up a lot more of my time than she has, but at the end here you can see she picks it right back up and she starts leading with me towards the end of the video. Leading kind of comes with working with them. I'll work on leading here and there to just get them to start going forward, and especially once we start tying her and everything, just that give to pressure. I'll have her give to pressure in different angles too, so it's not just straight towards me, so I make sure it's the pressure she's giving to, not just the coming into me. And that's just stuff that's going to come with time, and we're going to work on it slowly but surely. We have already done our lunge session, so I lunged her for about 10 minutes, maybe 5-10 minutes before we started this full-on session. So we're getting into a good routine, and at the end of it I brush her down completely. So right here, just continuing to work on that head shyness, patting her. That also is something that you may not realize, but for a horse that's not used to being touched, being pat almost feels like an attack to them. So you have to get them used to you actually patting on them, and as opposed to just petting them. So that's something, if you see when I pat her, she still kind of flinches a little bit, but she's getting used to it pretty well. So here I'm introducing the halter. I do make my own halters, so I have this neon orange halter that had a stain on it, so I couldn't sell it, and so I decided it was going to be used for her. And I actually really ended up liking the neon orange color on her. As you can see, she's like, wait a second. So what I'm doing, I'm not looking at her head, I'm looking at her shoulder, and I'm just gonna keep going around until she stands still and relaxes. She's not being super crazy, like trying to really pull away from me. She's just unsure, so that's why she's continuing to move away. But she accepts it pretty quickly. You can see she's trying to think. She's not moving as erratically. There we go, good girl. So I pet her with it, and then I took the pressure off. And I said, that's what I needed. And then I went right back to her. And I said, here we go. And she accepted it. So I get her used to this quite a bit more. I rub on her. There's a good lick. That was good. She was like, okay, I could do this. So I just move it all around her body, up and down, mainly up around her head and her neck. You can see I put it around her bum. Her head starts lowering. She continues to chew. She's very accepting once you get things going with her. And with horse training, you always want to keep them moving. So right there, I just disengaged her hindquarters by having her do a hips over, just so that she has some movement, so that I'm not training her in one spot. here I'm now trying to put it around her nose, just getting her used to the feeling of a new thing going around. She's very accepting of it. Her hips cocked, she's chill. I've got it around her neck here. Right there, she's avoiding me. That is called avoidance, when her head is to the side like that and her body is leaning away from me. This is something that is going to just take time, and I'm going to have to start addressing more and more to have her look towards me and angle into me. But again, it's just going to take time. This is a new thing. There, I pull her over a bit saying, hey, don't be leaning away. But again, with time, the avoidance is going to go away. And I'll also explain later on how I address avoidance when I actually need her to stop leaning away from me like that. Right now, I'm just going to accept it. But here we go. We get the halter up and around. She's just fine with it. She is still avoiding me, but she doesn't seem to care too much about the halter. So I get that on her. And I was actually really impressed with how much she let me kind of move the halter up around her ears and get the other halter off. For how head shy she was, she actually took this really well. Right here, it got a little caught underneath, and she wasn't too happy about it, but we did end up getting it off of her, and she took it like a champ. She was good. And look how pretty that neon orange looks on her. And she's like, wait a second, you just took the halter off. Why is there still something on? So what I did there before I brought in the saddle blanket was I went ahead and just moved her around, let her feel the new halter, because this one does have more knots on the noseband, so it can give more of a snap on her with my corrections than the nylon halter does. That's why I do like rope halters for training. So I let her feel out the halter before I came and introduced her with the saddle blanket that I have now. So right now I'm just letting her kind of see it, because this is also addressing the avoidance. I'm wanting her to actually take interest in it and come towards it, which she did right there. She sniffed it a bit and was like, that smells like other horses, but not, I don't want to be with it. And so I'm going to go to her shoulder here soon and just start rubbing it on her, and she doesn't like that too much, but I've committed to what I'm doing now. So I'm looking at her shoulder, I'm not looking at her head. I'm starting to pet her with it. Unfortunately, she goes out of the camera for a little bit, but I did touch her with it, and then I stopped and I pet her and I said, good girl, continually moving her, petting her all over. If she balks or doesn't like it at all or just kind of moves away, I keep it on her until she stands still, and then I release and give her a break, and then we go back to it basically. So a lot of repetition, as I've said before in my other videos. And she slowly just starts to accept it, doesn't really care a whole lot, and I start getting it all around her. And there are many, many ways to train with just even a simple blanket like this. And we'll be coming up on a few different ways coming here soon. But right now I'm just wanting her to move while it's all the way on her. Let her see it on both sides. Let her feel it as she moves around. She's not really paying attention to it at all right now, which is really nice. She doesn't really care. But she also hasn't felt it move a whole lot on her. Later on in the video, we do have a little bit of an explosion when it falls off of her for the first time. It took a little bit for her to want to be near it again. But she's doing great here. Doesn't seem to be too bothered. One of her ears are kind of, they flip back and forth between the pad to me. Like right now it's on the pad. The other ear's kind of keeping on me. I disengage her hindquarters to stop her. Say, good girl. Move it again. Repetition, repetition. Rinse and repeat, rinse and repeat. Move around. And she's doing really good. She's, like I said, a very accepting horse. But you have to be careful with accepting horses to make sure that you still do a thorough job with your ground training. Because even if they seem like they're chill with everything, if you skip steps, you're going to pay for it later on. So even with her so accepting of everything, that doesn't mean I get to just go on to the next thing and not work more on this. There's plenty more that I've got to do on this. Right here, you're gonna see her reaction when it falls off of her for the first time. I purposefully laid it so that it was heavier on one side and so it would fall off. And I'm doing this when she's away from me, not when I'm right up next to her, and you'll see why. Because as soon as that comes off of her, here we go, and she's like, woo! So this is why you don't want to be right next to them when you let it fall off of them for the first time. Make sure that you're lunging them around. You could even send your horse out to the round pin and not have it on a lunge line. Just something so that the horse is away from you, so that when they do react like that, or you won't be right underneath their feet, or they're not going to jump on you. So right now, I'm not looking at the saddle pad. I'm just saying, hey, let's go. You can do this. We can make it around. All I want her to do is start focusing on me again, and then we'll go back up and say hi to the saddle pad. And this is where, yes, she was doing awesome with me just touching her with it, but as soon as there was more movement involved, it became a whole new tool, basically a whole new lesson. So one saddle pad, you can do a lot of sacking out with one saddle pad. And she's still watching it, very wary. She's like, it moved, Mom. So now I just disengaged her hips. I let her stop. I'm coming up to say hi. There's her avoidance, but she's also not wanting to lean too far because the blanket's on the other side. I pick it up and I'm gonna let her see it again, and here, I shook it because it went on the ground. So another way you could train with a saddle blanket, shaking it. Now it's really moving. And as you can see, she's not okay with that. Now I don't want this explosion from her, so I'll be taking things down a notch. I'm gonna get closer, I'm gonna slowly shake it, so I'm not going nearly as hard as I was. And as soon as she stops, see right there, I released her because she put both ears on me. She's not in a stance to run away. I'm gonna go up and let her sniff it again, let her say hi to it, because I don't want to put too much pressure. Like the shaking was too much pressure, so I needed to come down from that and start taking it more in little steps. She's very wary still. So I rub it on her, and now I'm gonna have her follow it. As I kind of move it around and stuff, she has to follow it, and so that she's kind of the one chasing it rather than it chasing her. It's kind of a mental game in this aspect. But we worked a lot more on that. I got her chill to where she was okay with the blanket again. And this is towards the end of our session. I'm telling her, good girl. This is when I also found lice in her hair, so I had to treat her with some dust, lice dust, to try to get rid of that. And unfortunately, it's going to be a struggle for a while until I can touch his ear, because the lice is just going to stay on his ear and then jump around from horse to horse. So I'll be treating for lice a bit more. But you can see she's nice and relaxed, and she's just chill at the end of the session. So we worked through the nerves. She's so much fun. I love this little mare. I hope you guys are enjoying her just as much as I am. Before I go, I'd like to introduce one of my Mustang mares that I've had now for 2-3 years. This is Rue, or Ruger is her full name. She was born in 2010, so she's 13. She was rounded up in 2012, and my mom got her in 2015 when she did an EMM, Extreme Mustang Makeover. Rue was a bit too nervous of a horse in order to compete in the EMM, and so my mom just kept her with her. And in 2020, I took Rue on as my own. I purchased her from my mom, got the title on her, and started working with her. My mom had not been on her back, she'd just been doing some groundwork, so I started putting more groundwork on her, saddling her, and I've got about 40 days of riding on her. She's still very much green broke, and I did have an accident and I broke my ribs, so she's just getting back into things, and I'm very excited to show you guys her progress as we go. So I'll be making a little video for her, a little playlist for her, So if you guys are excited about that, let me know. Thank you so much for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Don't forget to smile. Might just brighten your day, somebody else's. Bye, guys.